Good morning, everyone. I hope you've had a great week. Thank you for tuning in once again. Luke with Premium Aquatics here. Got a few things to go over. Not really, just one thing to go over. And then a new product that has been on the system since the get-go. But we're going to look at it, maybe put a second one on. So stay tuned. Let's get started. All right, guys, I'm taking the kids to a baseball game. We're going to the Rangers versus the White Sox. Go Rangers, don't judge. Listen, okay? Let's go. I love baseball, so I'm going to have a great time. But today what we're going to focus on is one, an error that I made, and two, the Ecotech MP10. I've already got one on the system, so you've seen it, I'm sure. It's doing great, but we're going to open one up, take a look at it. I may put a second one on here just to play around with it and see if we can get maybe some wave action going. I love the waves and seeing them under the water and seeing how the corals react to it. It's kind of like going out to a huge field where there's wheat or just long grass and you see the wind blow through it. I think that's just so relaxing and peaceful. So if I can see that inside the aquarium, I absolutely love it, especially with things like anemones, pulsing xenia. First things first though, the TDS. I told you last week, if you watched it, if you haven't, go back and look at it. Thought I had an issue here with my meter that was from HM Digital. Turns out, as I thought possibly could have been, was my error. After we did some testing, I disassembled the HM Digital, brought it up with that with a cup of water from the RO that I made, and what I did was I turned it on and I tested each probe just by sticking it in the water, and sure enough, it gave me a reading on all three of them. It was like somewhere between 60 and 90, I don't remember now, but I was getting a reading from all three probes. So obviously, something I did for installation was causing the issue. So got it all squared away. I changed out my DI, and then I installed the probes in again, started the water, turned it on, let it go for a little bit, and then I turned on the HM Digital, looked at my first probe, got 360, looked at my second probe, got 0, looked at my third probe, got 0. I'm just, and at that point I'm thinking, wait a second, what is going on here? Why am I still seeing the exact same 0 in that second probe? I should not be seeing that. Otherwise, my last readings would have been perfectly fine. So I knew something I was doing was messing up. And lo and behold, what did I find out? I hadn't pushed the probes far enough in. I felt a clicking type of noise when I first did it, so I thought they were in. And my first probe read, so I thought they were all the same depth, so I thought I was good. Turns out that second and third probe, because the water pressure probably isn't as strong in there, it's not filling up the tube like it is the first one, it needs to be further in. So I pushed on the probes for the second and third just to see if I could get them to go in more, and sure enough, they went deeper in. As soon as I did that, I was getting readings. So, rookie mistake, I know. Make sure when you insert those probes on the HM Digital, or if you have something else, a different brand like that, make sure you're pushing them in all the way. I thought I was fine because the first one was reading, so why wouldn't the second and third ones? Well, I think it was because the water in the tube coming from the membrane and then to the DI, there's not super strong pressure going into both of those. It's just a stream that comes out of them, and so it's not filling up that tube like it is on the first tube. When the first probe, since it's on the entry water, that tube is filled completely full. It's got pressure behind it, so it fills it all, and it touches the probes, even if by a little bit. On the second and third, I didn't have that. It's just running along the bottom of those tubes, running through the rest of it, and it wasn't enough to contact those probes, causing a reading. So push it all the way in. Make sure, double check it. If you ever run into this issue, look at your probes. Make sure you really tightly push it down, because it may need a little bit more. Really silly mistake on my part, so I'm glad I figured that out. However, again, it doesn't take away from the fact that it's good to have that secondary backup, because if I hadn't had that secondary backup, things may have gone a little bit differently. I don't know. It's probably something I should have checked immediately when I saw the double zeros constantly. I probably should have checked that, but I didn't think about it because the first one was reading, so I just didn't realize it. But since I had the Seaside, it allowed me to make sure that I was getting numbers and had a TDS. And after I realized that I did, it said, okay, something's wrong with the HM Digital. Test the HM Digital separately. Okay, that's working. Okay, it's something I'm doing wrong. And then I was able to narrow it down and figure it out. But, so it was nice to have it. Let's move on from my mistake and go to the Vortech. We're going to open it up here, so let's take you a little bit further down. Open it up, check it out, and we'll show you how amazing these pumps are. Okay, so let's get to open it. MP10 Vortech Quiet Drive wireless unit. Really nice. It has worked very well for my system so far. I've been very happy with it. I don't need a ton, obviously, since my system isn't huge, and especially with my return overflow with the C-Swirl, makes for a really nice comparison. But I'm thinking about maybe trying putting this on the opposite wall and see if I can't get those waves going. But we do have our quick setup guide and some mounting pieces, which will be for the cords here, some zip ties that'll run around the cord and makes it nice and clean, and then some Velcro pieces that you can utilize for the controller if you'd like to. You can buy the controller mount, which is the driver mount, which is separate, but that is an option, a little bit nicer of a setup. But I did get that, so I just haven't set it up yet, but really nice option there. And then we get to the meat. Here we have the Quiet Drive. Here we have our controller. Very simple setup, not much to it. We have our mode, set, option, and power, and then we have our dial that will adjust all our settings for us. We then have the motor, which is one reason why I love Ecotech so much, is because this is on the outside. Like I said in one of my other videos, I like having my display as clean as possible, so if I can take anything that would normally be on the inside of the aquarium and put it on the outside, so it doesn't take away from my view, then I love it. So that's really nice. I don't mind it as much being on the outside. And then we have this really small piece that is going to go on the inside. Super small, but very powerful still. And then we have our foam cover just to make sure nothing gets inside of our prop area and bind set up. This cage can be removed by just twisting it off, where then we can access our impeller, a little O-ring in there if we would ever need to, and for general cleaning. Then we just twist it back together. And then lastly, we have our power supply. So this is extremely easy to set up. And we'll go over here, we'll get this set up, and then we'll go over the controls and run down what the options here are for this Ecotech and just what this is capable of. So let's throw it onto the aquarium. So I turned off the return pump just so we could actually see what this does when I do the different modes. I'll toss up what each mode is representing. Okay, so let's take a look at this. This is the Quiet Drive controller. It has a W up here, which stands for being wireless, so I can sync it up to that other one if I decide to. Real quick, let's just go over the different modes that are available. They are indicated by this dial here, and you will push the mode button to swap through, and a couple of them will have different modes through each color. But we have green, which is just your standard constant mode, so it is just powered on, and this by turning the dial, you can see our LEDs go up, which means the strength of the pump. As you can see, we are much stronger, and then we can turn it down all the way. If we hit the mode button, we then go into the purple color. That is going to be either the tidal swell mode or the nutrient transport mode. If I were to have two, I think the tidal swell seems kind of one of the coolest settings on there, and especially if you have more than one pump to work in tandem with each other in the master-slave setting. And if we hit again, we're going to go to yellow, which is going to be in regards to the reef crest random mode or the lagoonal mode. And then blue, which is short pulse mode. And again, we can turn everything up as far as what our max setting is. And then for like the short pulse, we can set our time as to how often we want it to pulse, and it'll start pulsing. And then we can change the duration at any point if we want it to be a little bit longer before it ramps up again. And this can make it really nice if you have both working in tandem, master and slave, to where you can start really creating a nice wave action within the system. So then if we go to the next mode, it goes to, I guess, pinkish, which is the gyre mode, which is kind of similar to the short pulse mode, but you have a longer duration between the breaks. So you can set your speed and then how often you want it to ramp up and down. And then last, we go back to our constant mode. There is a feed mode. To get into the feed mode, all we would have to do, just for instance, if we have it all the way up, we would just hold the modes, and now it's gone into feed mode. Okay, so I've got this set up as a master slave. The new pump is the master, while the other one that I've been using is the slave. You can see here, this slave has a different colored ring, which is why we know it is the slave. Orange means that it is an anti-sync mode, so it's going to do the opposite of whatever the master is doing. If I hit mode, that color will go white, kind of looks blue, but it's white, and it actually goes into sync mode. So now it's going to mimic exactly what this pump is doing, and I can change it, and it'll start mimicking whatever the change is. Or if I hit mode again, it'll go back into anti-sync and do the complete opposite. So that's really cool. This is one of my personal favorite pumps. I love them. I've had a lot of good success with them in the past. So I'm going to keep this new one on here for a little bit just to see how it does with my water movement. I don't really think I need it simply because I do have a strong return pump. But I'm going to put it in that tidal swell mode that I talked about and showed you, and I'm going to see what it does for my system. But so far, I have been loving this. The nice foam filter makes sure that you don't get detritus, you don't get sand, whatever gets kicked up doesn't get just immediately sucked in that impeller. Then I can turn that off, go out and clean that foam. You can buy replacement foam, so you can always just remove it, put a new one on, go clean it out, and then reuse it. So really nice to have. I love the pump. You can actually get the Reef Link to help you control that and sync it up with each other, as well as like their Vectras, the lighting, all that can be synced up and looked on one main hub to control everything. We'll go into that into another episode. I have one here just waiting to be set up. I'll keep updating on these. If anything goes wrong with them, we'll test out some different modes with it. So really that's it. We've got these pumps going. We'll see how it works out. I'm hoping to have some goodies swimming around in this tank soon. Haven't gotten that all squared away, but hopefully we'll be progressing here and really starting to get some meat inside this system and to really enjoy and take advantage of. But that's going to be it. You guys have a great weekend. Make sure to check out the links in the description below for the products. Go check them out, see what you think, maybe pick one up, of course. We appreciate it. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. Otherwise, if you're going to MACNA, make sure to go see Brandon. Don't forget, he is going to be at the Senai booth. He's going to have lots of swag, goodies, whatever. So make sure to stop by and see us if you're going. Make sure to give him a noogie like I mentioned last video. Don't forget, if you see this after MACNA, just go and stop by the shop. You know, that's fine. We'll set up an appointment, get you in there, and give it to him then. It's no problem. We'll get you all squared away. So have a great weekend. We'll see you next weekend. If you have any questions, let us know. Otherwise, catch you next round.